This is the smooth one.
What's wrong, Taurus? What's wrong with my people? Let's see what y'all got going on. I just feel like something's wrong, Taurus. All right, strategy. We're going to see what that's coming out for. Just feels like something isn't fair. Like sometimes you wish you can get to the finish line without having to go through all the conditioning or all the hard parts. That's what I'm sensing. It's like I wish I could get to where I'm trying to go in life without having to go through the growing pains. All right. Yes. Angel of the four direction. You're trying to get somewhere. You're trying to change something up, but there's a learning curve involved. And this is reminding me of when I was in college and I started college algebra. So, yeah. So when I was younger, I was homeschooled and I was struggling with remembering my multiplication facts. And my mom was the teacher. And so she would make us learn it like 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, and so forth and so on. So when it came time to test for whether or not we learned the multiplications, we had to recite it the way we learned it. So we couldn't just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 2, 4, 6, 8, stuff like that. We had to literally say it. We had to stand up at attention and say 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2. So you had to remember the equation and the answer in order to pass with multiplication facts. And I struggled with this. All right, courage. I struggled with this. I just knew there was no way I was going to be able to remember all those numbers and actually pass. I wanted to learn it the short way. So it was crunch time. And my dad was like, so I went to my dad and I was like, I'm mad. I don't want to learn it. I don't want to learn it the way she's telling me to learn it. I want to just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She wants me to say 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, and so forth. And he was like, well, you don't have to do any of that. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, put up 2 fingers. All right. And then he was like, now say we're going to do 2 time tables. He was like, now say what's 2 times 1? And I was like 2. And he was like, what's 2 times 2? And then he was like, count. Whenever you get the answer, count up 2 fingers. And so he was like, now say it with me. 2 times 1 is 2, 3, 4. 2. So he was like, so what's 2 times 2? And I was like, 4. And then he was like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when it came time to test, I cheated. All right. That's how I was able to do it. I said it hella slow and I had 2 fingers behind my back. And I was like, when I got the answer, I was like, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And I was using my fingers to skip count. And so when I got to college and we had like timed, okay, it only mattered most when we had like an hour to do all these questions. And if you knew your multiplication facts, plugging in the formula was really easy because you already knew it the long way. So when it came time to perform harder math problems, you didn't have to worry about writing out the long division or long math to solve the smaller problems and get the equation, and you would get done faster. So there was always a challenge with time, right? And feeling as if I just didn't want to do the time. I just didn't want to commit, all right, to what I felt to be pointless information to inculcate, pointless information to remember. Like, what's the point of memorizing all this stuff for a hypothetical chance that I may run into it later on down the line. I just felt like there was more important things to do. And so my mom was she was the arithmetic. She was the mathematics. My dad, on the other hand, was the streets. He was the street smarts. So all of this I'm saying is because there's something that you personally need to do. But in order to have what it is that you want, you won't be able to skip over a part. You won't be able to skip count. You won't be able to skip a few steps to get where you want to be. It's going to be a journey. It's going to take time. It's going to require you to let time pass by and just commit on a day-to-day basis. All right, versus feeling as if you want to skip steps and persuade a person, tempt a person, bribe a person. Or this could be bribing yourself, tempting yourself, persuading yourself, trying to figure out a way to get out of something easier. And I feel like at this time, either you are personally frustrated, you're personally feeling as if it's just not fair. Who would create a system? Who would create these seasons, these cycles of having to wait like this? And I get it, but it won't be at a loss to you. If you're trying to avoid taking a loss, there will be a lesson involved, and that is no fun. So let's get into your channel messages, Taurus, because I feel like we have catfish in reverse. We have all tied up in reverse. And then we have the goddess in reverse. Very interesting combination, Taurus. All right. One thing's for certain, God isn't going to be able to save you out of this situation. A higher power, praying through it. I mean, I'm not saying prayer and stuff doesn't work, but I feel as if this has something to do with a major life lesson, a major aspect on the journey. It's a part of the developmental phase of creating, right? When you get stuck, it's in the space where you're stuck where things open up for you. Ideas come to your mind, solutions. And I feel like in this situation, only you can get yourself to the other side of this goal, the other side of this achievement. And it's just enjoying the process, staying nested, eating your fruits and vegetables, not trying to figure out who you can call to help you get there. I heard Ghostbusters. Who you could call to help you get out of the situation faster, help you get to the other side. And a lot of times it's like that, right? Let's say you hear a prediction on YouTube, or you get a personal reading, and the reading is telling you that you're going to be this person. Now, the reader may have absolutely no control of when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, and so you are for the ride. You're going for the ride, just as the person that's delivering the message to you or giving you the prediction. And a lot of times when you know where you're going to end up, but you don't know the ins and out of how you're going to get there, the reason why the ins and out is restricted from you is because that's where character is built. That's where your inspiration is drawn from. That's when you get to really see who you truly are. It's in the experiences where you gain wisdom, right? Wisdom only comes from experience, failures. And through those failures, you get to meet a new version of yourself. Six of Pentacles. And it's little bit by little bit, day after day. And a lot of times we can hold a high regard or a high standard of what we expect people to be like, the journey to be like, and we can compare it to the ones that we see on social media, the ones that we see around us, and it's a surrogate to the reality of who we are and where we are in our life. And in a lot of ways, I feel like the reason why Spirit jogged that in my memory was one of the lessons that I learned from it is, even with street smarts, let's say you feel like, oh, having street smarts is better than trying to do it the book way. Even on the journey of street smarts, you will learn through life experiences that everybody pays the piper. Even if you get 10 years down the line, 30 years down the line, there will come a point where you will come across a person by way of a relationship, a job opportunity, or whatever, and you will be challenged. And even if you have to learn it at the last hour, all right, procrastination, right? Or you may work better under pressure. Procrastination, there's a lot, or you may try to avoid it at all costs. For no matter what, it's going to come to this point. Because you have to get yourself unstuck. You have to figure out, it's like that crossroads. You could either miss this opportunity, or you can say, fuck it. I've already done it, exhausted it this one way, and I got this far. Now I'm going to have to commit. I'm going to have to sit down. I'm going to have to see it through. I'm going to have to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to have to confront. This could also be like shy energy with catfish in reverse. This could also be, God complexes, okay? Who you expect yourself to be. And if you're not a physical representation of the divinity, right, that you expect, or you expected another person, you can create limited belief systems that prevent other areas of your life. And it can also make you have roadblocks. It can also conjure up like writer's block, creative blocks and stuff like that. And it comes from using something as an archetype of perfection, and when that archetype of perfection is torn down, it's like the reason why you wanted it isn't there to give you the hope that you wanted to use it for. You know what I'm saying? So it's no different than if the archetype of God was the reason why you woke up in the morning, and then you go through a very hard life experience and you have a strained relationship with God, where it's like, why would God put me through this? Or why would God put me in a situation where I feel as if this shouldn't have happened to me? And what type of cruel person must God be if I'm to endure this only for the sake of a lesson or to build my character? That's not nice. That sounds cruel, right? Fair trade. Okay, fair trade. I see all of that, but at the same time, getting caught up in the why would this even be presented to you can get you stuck there. And only you can get yourself out of that situation, because nobody, no matter how hard the journey is or how gentle the journey is, has control over any series of events. And not even you have control of trying to prevent or have any regrets. Not even you have control over that. And if you're holding on to that archetype of perfection and you're wielding that type of cruelty over yourself, even down to how you physically show up in the world, or how you may present yourself or not present yourself, or how you date or not date, whatever it is, whatever that archetype is that restricts you from being able to accept oneself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, or accept the journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly, those, what will conjure up are experiences necessary to help you see that about yourself, help you see that that's an unnecessary projection of yourself, an unnecessary reality of yourself that you've convinced yourself is necessary in order to get to the other side of whatever you're trying to get to. And it's different for every single person, so I'm going to keep it very, very vague. Because you'll have to know exactly what's keeping you caught up. What's keeping you from really saying, I can have this, I can do this. What belief system is restricting that? It's a part of your transformation with metamorphosis. But I'm tapped into a collective of Taurians that feel like it's unfair. It's all wrong. It's all unfair. It's woe is me. And y'all know me. If you know me on this channel, I'm the last person that's going to sit here and say, put me on a pedestal and look at me and compare myself. No, I'm going to get real with you. And a part of getting real with you is helping you see this about yourself, because this is what I see in the energy. This is what your energy is trying to convey to you, is that you have a perception around loss that is counterproductive to anything you would aspire to have, romance, anything you aspire to experience, journey, anything that you aspire to create, endeavors, opportunities. It's counterproductive. And only you can think your way. Only you can unstuck yourself. Unstuck yourself. Only you can get yourself out of this mental prison of feeling as if you aren't either good enough, or that you have to wait to be good enough, or that you need to be on a certain tier or level to start something. You don't need to convince anyone either. Some of y'all, this is about being bored. Okay, you could just be bored with the mundane, bored with life, but there's so much magic in the mundane. And I think that's what we need to see. That's what we need to look into. The Two of Swords. Yeah, what magic is sitting right around you? You know what I'm saying? Let's see. I'm gonna pull this shit out on you right quick, because there is magic in just sitting outside, sitting at the dock of the bay. There's magic just sitting outside looking at a butterfly. There's magic in tying your shoes. There's magic, all right, looking at a tree. A tree becomes other things. So when you see the raw ingredients and you see all the things around you, just no different than how my dad told me, 2 fingers can help you with a lot of situations, right? You just have to see it as an opportunity to get yourself on the other side of whatever you're struggling with. Okay. And a lot of times, ain't nobody finna sit around and listen to you waddle over in your feelings all the time. I'm gonna tell you, tie your shoe. And if you sit there long enough and you don't want to tie your shoe, nobody gonna sit there with you and wait for you to tie your shoe. No, we're just gonna keep on moving along. Because if I sit there with you and just talk about the things that you've lost, I lose time, I lose interest, and the issues that you possess now become my issues, and I ain't even start out with them issues. And that's no different than if you have a friendship, and that you feel some type of way that somebody don't want to sit around and listen to you complain, or listen to you speak about your life in a negative cycle on a loop 24/7. The reason why they don't want to do that is not because they're not a good friend or a good family member or whatever. It's because if they sit there with you, eventually you stare in the mirror long enough and you start to look like what you are around. And, you know, a lot of people feel like, yeah, shadow work can only hold space for you long enough. And so we all in the collective hold space for each other when we meet new people, and we share that burden without having it to be on one particular person. When you find the next reader and the next reader and they're telling you the same shit over and over and over again, instead of it being the same person hearing it from the same person, maybe you need to go off and hear it from, you know, Tabitha down the street, so Tabitha can say it in a way that you understand, because not everybody you're going to want to receive from, and people are not meant to change who they are so you can receive them. It's meant for you to go out there. When the universe brings something to you, that's what the universe is saying. Hey, listen, I think you would benefit from broadening your horizons, because you're avoiding some type of creative endeavor, some type of path, some type of ability. Some of you guys, you put yourself out there before and there was a negative experience. It wasn't well received. And so if that ever happened to you, that's another thing. That's another thing that can really fuck with your mental. All right, we have follow your spark. It's like, yeah, I did this before. It didn't end very well. There may be an aspect to something that you're doing creatively that you don't like, in conjunction with what it takes to get to where you need to go. All right, so some of you guys, I'm hearing the karmic. It's not me, it's the karmic. Karmics are necessary as experience of reflection. So they're fragments of oneself. Karmics are the shadow aspects of ourselves that we have, that we need work on. We need to take accountability for. So I'm curious to see what comes out over there, but we're going to keep pushing. And I feel like that's what I'm sensing here. The reason why I'm even explaining what a karmic is because so many people have skipped levels of spiritual growth. Okay? And it's not to say that you don't believe in manifestation, tarot, spirituality, shadow work, or any of those things. But there's certain levels of initiation that have been skipped and jump levels, just like I described in the beginning. Essentially, that's skipping and jumping levels of learning, arithmetic, rote learning, repetition. All of those tactics, that's not tactics, all of those methods of repetition help you. At the time, I didn't see it, but it helps you when you become an adult and you have to do the repetitious work of taking care of your home, taking care of children, washing dishes, washing clothes. Those tasks are very repetitious. They must be done. There's no reward for that. There's no pat on the back for that. It's a part of it. So you can do it with joy, or you can do it sad, and you can do it complaining. Either way, those are things that gotta be done, right? And we shouldn't have to get to a point where the universe has to remind you of all the negative consequences just to get you to want to do some shit for yourself, right? We shouldn't have to guilt trip you. We shouldn't have to remind you of all the bad things that could happen to you in order for you to desire it for yourself. And that's okay, because I do feel like a lot of you guys are breaking generational curses and patterns of genetic behaviors by way of your mother and your father. So there's information coded in both your parents that then make it easier or harder to see it from this perspective. So under no circumstances is spirit going to look at you as wasted matter. You're not wasted matter at all. You matter. And because you matter, we got to go back to the beginning. We have to go back to the fundamentals of life and life experiences, and how you can, versus just coping with it and finding vices to help you get through another day, we can replace those vices with ideas, inspirations, things that can really keep your hands busy. As a person with addictive personality traits, a part of shadow work is finding healthier things to replace. You have to replace the negative with the positive. You can't just take something away from someone without teaching them how to replace it with something good for you. Now, just because, let's say this is a good thing for you, it's good until it isn't no more. So you have to constantly revamp it. You have to constantly rechange it and things like that, because it's something inside of you genetically that just, sometimes it's genetically, sometimes it's medical. Who the fuck knows? Okay. Something inside of you is just saying, just communicating back to you that the feeling of wanting to be good. And that's one of the addictive personality traits, is I just want it to taste good, feel good, right? And if you're a Taurus energy, you like nice things. You like things that taste good. I know that about you because it's Venusian energy. You like to look at nice things. You like to taste nice things. You like, and it could lead to a lot of different things where you feel like temptation is going to be one of your biggest things to conquer. You're going to have to teach yourself, instead of doing the whole thing, you do half, or instead of, got to have it every single day. And this could be something as simple as sex, instead of, or consumption of anything that just gives you that dopamine hit. Just is what it is. We have soulmate. It's going to allow you to look at that ascension, tension, yeah, what I'm sensing here, seek guidance in reverse. You could do this. You can do this. These are small things to a giant. But on your journey, this is about not getting caught up in being so detached from humanity that you feel as if you're giving, and you lose your humility. You see what I'm saying? I feel like a part of being different from religion, and a part of being different from certain doctrines that promote an archetype or an architectural hierarchy and have more balance, it's going to come from humility. And we all have learned about the functionality and the importance of humility on our journey by way of life lessons and experiences, that we get the wisdom, thus the lesson from the lesson, and we move on. I saw a quote one time about humility. Let me see if I can find it, because it's definitely necessary. I found it a couple of days ago, actually. Okay. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking about yourself less, right? So it's not like that woe is me. It's not always about you and what happened to you and what you were and were not able to have, or what you were or not able to keep. It's about thinking about yourself less, because in that position you possess the awareness necessary, where you don't have to get the confirmation outside of yourself that you are doing the right thing, nor do you have to feel so self-righteous to the point where you create tension and you create this invisible mountain for other people to strive towards that they'll never be able to satisfy. Okay. I hope that makes sense for who it's meant for. For those of you that dealt with situations where you felt like when you did reveal to the world who you really were, and when I say who you really were, this could be like your art, something that you're sensitive about. It doesn't have to be about your physical self or your physical body, but it may be you reveal your vulnerability, or you reveal some type of, I want to start an art project, or I want to start this project, and it wasn't well received by the people closest to you. That can make a strained relationship as well, where you feel like the people around you don't support you. And that's not always the case. If you do experience a situation where people are not supporting you or helping you or giving you a leg up or trying to say, here, I want to support you in this, or I want to support you in that. A lot of times the reason why that doesn't happen is because Spirit wants you to recognize what you're capable of without having handouts, without having people offer you the help. So in those seasons of your life where you felt like when you needed help and you were vulnerable and you were trying to follow your inspiration, or you were trying to follow your own divine guidance, and no one was there to give you that leg up, or no one was there to encourage you or support you, it wasn't to punish you. It wasn't to punish you. It was something for you to see. The vision was given to you, because with you it wouldn't perish. So you would be like that old record with a scratch on it, that it's like, damn, you still talking about that school you was going to start. You still talking about that art project you was going to do. You still talking about those things, because the vision was given to you, and you're telling other people about the vision that you had, and how it's going to be great, and you want to do this, but you haven't taken the steps. You haven't applied yourself, and put yourself back in that vulnerable position to actually actively pursue it, in so many words. There's the strength card is about knowing when to fold. It's about knowing when to push and when to let go. It's about yin and yang. It's about all the things all the struggles of life experiences that help you recognize that you are both masculine and feminine, that you can clock in, you can tap in with both aspects of yourself, and you don't have to wait for a congregation. You don't have to wait for a following. You don't have to wait for supporters. You have to just continue doing your passions. Just continue doing what you love. And you have that tunnel vision and that focus. And when you feel as if you're applying too much pressure, you ease up. And when you feel like you're not applying enough, you add more. And so this is my card for cooking in the kitchen. Okay, you're gonna get burned. All right, you can't expect to make bacon and not get a little scorch. You're gonna get a little sizzle dizzles. You're gonna get a little sizzle. You're gonna feel like, some days you burn it, some days you don't. But every time you keep going back, something gets better and better and better. But that's repetition, right? So it's in the mundane things, or we continuously do the repetitious things that seem boring. And in your case, whoever I'm connecting to, that's your sacrament. That's your sacrifice, right? And it's also going to be your greatest victory, because you know that you're following something that wasn't given to everybody else. It wasn't for everybody else. And the reward is even sweeter. Okay, which means this is a big one. This is a big one. Especially if you feel as if, well, my situation is different. I have people that have done horrible things to me. They could have chastised you. They could have bit you. They could have, really was heartless towards you, and all you were trying to do was do the right thing, right? And so you've thought about this long enough, you sat on it for long enough, and I feel like there's a desire to avoid ever going back to a version of yourself that felt weak, easily manipulated. You felt vulnerable. You give, and nothing in return. And the person ends up being someone that they're not. They lied to you, they catfish you. And so you fine tune your eyes. This is what empaths do, right? You hyper attune to the negativity in the room, so you feel in control of not being taken advantage of. And then you mask it as boundaries, but they're not healthy for you, because they also hinder your growth and they hinder your development, because it's through those relationships of people at different levels of consciousness that helps refine you, okay, into the diamond that you need to be, which is the level that you want to be at. But instead of being this arrogant, unyielding, distorted god or goddess, you see what I'm saying, or demigod or whatever, you'll know how to resolve tension a lot better. You'll have a lot of more patience. And I hear this statement a lot where it's like taming a narcissist and X, Y, and Z. All a narcissist is a product of their environment. And the product of their environment is typically based off of the area code they grew up in, the people that raised them that either did or didn't hold them accountable, and the expectation that they have to get exactly what they want no matter what. Okay? Majority of the world is narcissistic. Majority of you watching this video will be narcissistic in characteristics. Undiagnosed, maybe. But ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Which is why when you put yourself out there and you're vulnerable, oh, I'm not a narcissist. How dare you call me a narcissist? When you put yourself out there and you're vulnerable and people don't receive you, you have a negative reaction. You have a negative response in your internal dialogue. You're like, I'll never do this shit again. Okay, they treated me like this. I'll never do that shit again. You place your expectation not on your treatment, but your expectation of how you're meant to be received, right? You are not meant. This is what English teaches you in education, that you write for the reader. You write or you communicate for the listener. All right. So as in public speaking, and effective communication and language arts, whatever, they're teaching you to speak in such a way that the person that's listening can understand what you're saying and receive it, accept it. And so in that process, there's no room for you to think for yourself or ask yourself your own critical questions, because it was designed, it was intently spoken a certain way, written a certain way. So you just receive it. It's an art. It's the art of persuasion. So you can avoid arguments, so you can avoid conflict. And what is karmic energy? Conflict, arguments, and not every argument has to be volatile, violence. You know that one, right? It doesn't have to be violent, but it can be for the sake of a debate. Putting ideas out there and having someone contradict you or having someone disagree with you. Someone else's disagreement shouldn't make you want to be like, oh, you disagree with me, so now I have to chastise you. It shouldn't have to bring you to that point of feeling as if you need to correct a person, right? How many people, raise your hand in the comments, how many people can't help but to constantly correct someone else's verbiage, someone else's language, someone else's situation, because they're narcissistic. There's a character and there's a characteristic about them that just can't help but to tell another person about themselves, and then disguise it as help. I care for you, so I'm telling you someone else's business. I'm minding your business too because I care for you. These are why karmic soulmates are so necessary, because when you meet someone that's saying, well, I don't care that you feel like you need to correct me 24/7, I'm gonna do it anyway. And then but God's gonna get you. God don't like when you sit there and you're just not open to receiving someone else's criticism or someone else's judgment. No, you're just revealing your need for perfection, your need to have things said and done in such a way that makes you feel comfortable. You're groomed, and you're accustomed to people speaking to you in such a way that you receive it. And if they don't speak to you in such a way that makes you feel like you can accept it and receive it, then you become unwound. And that's what happened. That's what I'm seeing here. So in order for you to have a healthy relationship, you got to let that go. You got to unwind. So first you got to do the shadow work and pull out all the tape. Okay, in a cassette player, right? Because what does a cassette player do? It's gonna keep playing and playing and playing. You got to pull it all out, pull the tape out, and then you got to rewind, and you have to bring it back around. And that's where the test comes in, because it takes patience to rewind all of the tape that has been pulled out of that cassette tape. And you know, when the old cassette players, when the shit used to get stuck in it and they used to like start tripping and you used to have to take it out and fix it yourself, that's a mundane task as simple as using a cassette player, where you have to take something apart and put it back together. The act of being willing to sit there and do it properly and still use the cassette player, it's not broken. You just have to fix it, right? Those items that we once used as humanity was there to help us see that you can fix that. You have the power, but you have to have the patience as well to put it back together again after it's been all mangled up. It's not trashed, it's still good. And I feel like that's what it's here. Like, instead of getting on your high horse and feeling as if, you know what, I don't gotta deal with this shit, I don't gotta deal with you, I don't gotta talk to you. The problem is when you get into a debate with someone and you go back and forth, the person that feels as if they're losing their need to be right will tend to result to, well, God is going to handle you. You're just not godly, or you're just not on my level. And the moment that you start treating people as if entertaining conversation that's not on your level is no longer even beneficial to the air you breathe, you might as well consider yourself an Aryan race. You might as well consider yourself superior to all levels of consciousness. But until you have a child, okay, for those of y'all that have children, let me know. Because once you have a child, you learn something real quick. And you know what you learn? It don't matter how old you get. That version of yourself that also thought like them is going to come right back around. And you're going to see yourself in them. And you'll have a moment to see yourself outside of your own body in the flesh. And when you have that moment, ain't nothing like it. Tell you that shit. Ain't nothing like it. And this is why a lot of people that are single and they don't have any children and things like that, they're not so quick to get involved with people that have those children, because they have children or whatever, or responsibilities outside of their availability, because they understand that you're not just dating the person that you're dating, you're also dating the characteristics of the person that you lay down with and you co-created miniature humans. Okay? They still need nurture, and they still need discipline and consistency, and they still need someone to argue with them. Yeah, they really do. Someone is coming to the realization that the only problem in their life is them. And that's okay. That's a very vulnerable space to be in, but you don't have to get defensive about it. You don't have to get defensive about it. You don't have to compare. You don't got to look at nobody else's paper and ask yourself what you did wrong compared to what they did wrong. You don't need no physical proof of somebody else getting their shit together or not getting their shit together, or trying to figure out what's the difference between them and you. Everybody got a little bit of something in them, and that's all right. All of it. Six of Wands in reverse, the Sun in reverse. Sheesh. So I'm getting that there's someone that feels like in order for them to have a relationship, a romantic relationship with someone, there's a fear that someone has to get over. And their fear is that if they get into a relationship with someone, it will mean it's the death to their career, it's the death to their ambitions. For some of you guys, this is telling me that someone here looks at this situation, looks at love in such a lens where it'd be like a death to your spiritual retribution, right? It'll be a way for somebody to avoid karma and the lessons that they're meant to learn. If you give someone, if you choose to love someone. Which means there's resentment all up and through this shit. But I see you conquering it though. It's going to be an everyday battle. And here's the truth. It don't matter if it's a past person, a present person, or a future person. If this is not handled, if you being able to look at yourself and see your strengths and your weaknesses in such a way where you can be honest with yourself and you can trust your higher self above anything else, that your higher self will always give you the tools, the remedies, the access points and things like that along your way, by way of strangers, people that you know or don't know, even your own enemies will also be used. It's not gonna come from you. How many boats do you want the divine to send you before you realize that each one was an opportunity to confront something? Each one was a way for you to work through your temptations, a way for you to work through your persuasion. Persuasion is a necessary tool. You can't turn it off all the way, but you don't have to infringe on free will at the same time. Because what wants to be will be, and what doesn't won't. And that's when you know to, hey, even if it was only for a week, we got to enjoy each other's company. I surrender you. I surrender you because I love you. I surrender you because your free will means more than my ability to see what you can't, or control what I feel like you can't. You know, so in a lot of ways, these connections help balance out an egocentric society where everything has been designed. And this is it's not like it's Well, technically, yeah, design. We could say design. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is the birth of technology, the rise of technology, brings about an egocentric society, which is why most people, you know, they will gravitate to the personality versus the message. You know, they will gravitate to a person's life, the main character's life, the story of the main character, more than they will the moral of the story. No one is crying over the extras in a movie when they all die horrifically. You wipe those tears up really fast when it's about the main character. At the end of the day, you will grieve main characters, but you don't feel that same humility for all the extras that died at the cost of the main character. And that's the egocentric society, the condition of humanity at its current state. And no one sees anything wrong with that, and no one contradicts that except the karmics. And when I say the karmics, I mean the people that contradict you. You got to be karmic to each other. You can't, you say, well, I'm not a karmic, I'm not this. We all have played karmic roles. And karmic only means repetition. The theme of this whole reading, repetition. How many times do we need to go around this mountain before it falls down? Tower moment. Okay. Abshak, Meshach, and Abednego. Abednego. Bruh. Somebody's gonna bend. Somebody's gonna bend over and let that breathe. I gotta focus. All right, that's pretty much what I'm seeing here. And if that triggered you, so what? I don't care. And that's kind of like what I'm seeing here. Because at the end of the day, a person's status, their fame, their recognition, whatever it is that they glorify, there are people that have balanced their energy out so much in a way where it's like, I don't even need somebody that has all of that, right? True love and love is enough. So somebody that has nothing is more valuable than someone that has it all, especially when it's an ego trip, especially when they are that karmic in nature where nobody can show them how unfair that they are when it comes to the balance of their own desires and in conjunction with another person. And so many people have failed at helping this person come to that reckoning. So many people that their stubbornness, all right, has been the hardest thing to break. And I got time for that. So they could be the most honest person, upright person, but only a narcissist can confront their own narcissism. Okay. I'm no medical doctor. I am not licensed. And you should definitely seek a licensed professional for the diagnoses of these things. But I am seeing here in the energy. The story is storytelling. that someone has determined. That these are their non-negotiables. Someone is completely unwavering in their non-negotiables, and one of their biggest non-negotiable is that the person that they are with must sacrifice their own dreams and their own ambitions, and submit. That's what I'm seeing here. So your own personal creative endeavors, cancel it out. Your desires to be helping other people, count it out. Your desires to work, you scratch it. That's what they said. My brother is not cutting any slack on these kids. You hear me? At all. You could be the best person in the world. Ain't enough light inside of you gonna be the reason why this person wants to improve themselves for you. Like, you ain't it. It's a self-reflective process that no one can make you do. No one can make you. Trust me. No one can make you. Dang. Someone is really hard on themselves. My Atlanta. I think this is someone else's projection. Taurus, I think someone else is projecting onto you about your choices. Yeah, someone else is projecting onto you the consequences of your choices if you so choose to leave a job, a congregation. You'll never make it in this town, you never make it in this city. You may be free from me, but you're going to go out there and you're going to figure out that you won't be able to ascend to this level of greatness, this level of, this could be somebody want you to be their right hand, a vice president of their society or something. Somebody wants you to be their plus one. If you think you're going to ascend without this person, you're going to see that nothing is going to happen for you. You're never going to make it. And so someone's desire to control the way that you perform and the way that you show up in the world, your communities, your networking, it's like you will be a struggling artist, a struggling person. 5 of Pentacles. And that's because somebody is working overtime. Magician energy. And the Magician card ain't even out here. But I do feel like there's someone that is working like they're corrupt. We don't want the whatever you're speaking, whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating, it's like they're saying, we don't want your kind here. We don't want your belief systems in this community. We don't agree with it. We don't support it. If you're speaking about, independence, if you're speaking about recognizing the God in you, the goddess in you, becoming that version of yourself, someone is working 10 times harder to put you in a position where you are more likable or favorable when you're connected to a person, or you're connected to, like, when you're a plus one. It's like, we don't want to hear you speak. We want to hear the masculine speak. Okay. Power struggles all up throughout here. And that's why there's so much tension around you ascending to a certain level or decree. But they can't stop this. It feels like you are... The Three of Pentacles is communities, it's structures, it's your environments, whether it's work related or just like family communities, networking communities. There's something about wherever you network, wherever you commune. There's the Emperor in reverse with the Queen of Wands in reverse. Someone doesn't like your methods, your routines, your style. And so a lot of you will take your business elsewhere. You'll take your ideas elsewhere. And you're like, you know what? Fuck that. There's more. These communities operate from a mental space of lack. Ain't enough to go around. But the truth of the matter is there's more than enough to go around. And the Queen of Wands in reverse is saying you're someone that's a badass and don't give a fuck. And so someone wants to chastise you. Right? But little do they know you're like Oya energy. You are the tower. You walking around that bitch a couple of times is you make stuck energy. You remove blockages. All right? You exercise demons. Yes, what your ability is. Okay? You tame beasts. You're a dragon slayer. You're a demon slayer. Whatever you want to call yourself. Okay? And I feel like these, for a very cold, emotionally detached world, they prefer it like this. They prefer their meat raw, uncooked. And here you are talking about, oh, you don't ever have to be frozen. You don't ever have to be stuck. You don't ever have to be in these types of dynamics, societies, or whatever. And you're sharing something, your wisdom. There's something that you're doing. You're being extremely generous with your wisdom, and whatever you're doing to be extremely generous with your wisdom is a threat. Okay? And so the objective here is to throw you off. Yes? And as much as the Emperor in reverse, this is somebody that aspires and desires to be someone that's in control. They aspire and desire to be a ruler. They may have the age, they may have the tenure, and they're a big bully. This is someone that's a big bully when it comes to sharing networks, platforms, and things like that, because they want to be the only one. This is someone that wouldn't even hire like employees or staff as a way to avoid keeping all of their money to themselves. They could do it all by themselves, but this person has a fear that you will put them out of business. They have a fear that you will make them lose numbers, support. You'll make them lose a lot of different things if you continue to speak about, death and transformation in the capacity that you are. If you're out here talking about people healing and stuff like that, that's going to make it difficult for these energies to really harvest off of other energies, because there's a strong market. Okay, it's big business to play on your emotions. It's big business to get you to waste your time believing, listening, and doing things that are not beneficial. All right, not helping you realize your own potential. Because it'd be different if they weren't drawn to you, right? So you're not going around soliciting shit. I'm not tapped into a Taurus that's going around soliciting who they are or what they believe to other people. You're not a witness. You're not walking around, have you heard that you are God and all of you are gods? You're not walking around doing none of that shit. You are stationary. You minding your business. You're doing what you love, whether you are successful in the eyes of society or not. And that isn't a raw ingredient that can't be faked. It's no longer potential. It's rooted in you. You really about that life. And so the Queen of Wands in reverse is saying, generous or not, give to me or not, you are covered. You are protected. You're divinely guided. And so the weapons are not forming. See, it's one thing when they say, oh, the weapon may form, but it will not process. Before this shit even make it out the door, it's not, the weapon is not materializing. It's not forming against you. And that type of blockage is a different type of protection, which means that you were divinely guided to be the lesson, the karmic. What do you mean I was meant to be the karmic? You are meant to go a season in your life as being retribution to many. You are karma. Okay, in order to bring down anything that's unjust, in order to have a reckoning or a tower moment, you got to come with that karma. And what does that mean? You have to say and do things karmically. You're going to have to revolt. You're going to have to resist. All of those things are technically considered karmic because you have too much power. You have too much free will. Now, what I can see here is in the past, you were letting them. It's like in your face, but not in your face, right? Master of disguise. Hidden in plain sight. And so a lot of them will start off by falling in love with you. They'll start off by wanting to, they'll concoct their own story of what they want to do with you and how they want to manifest this with you, off you, or whatever. Underestimated. And then when they get to the point where they think they got you hooked, they got you caught. Like, yeah, you want a reel now. I'm reeling you in. They get this close to taking your ass out the water. And a damn wave the size of a tsunami is coming for them too. And so they got two choices. Either they're going to let your ass off the hook and let you go back in the water, or the water will consume them. And in a lot of instances, what does arrogant people do? What does egotistical people do? Man, fuck that. I could take a hit and they get hit. Wop, wop, wop. Wop, wop. Why you fuck them up? And that's kind of like what I'm seeing here. So never for a second think that any of this is at a loss to you. Because that is the illusion that they will spin, is that you will lose something great in the event that you don't bend to their will. But again, the only intention that's intentioning is the one that you, the initial one that you came with. So you are a soulmate to many, is what I'm seeing here. That's what Spirit is pretty much saying to you. And you're a soulmate to many people that don't want to seek the guidance themselves. Yep. That's what I'm seeing here. They don't want to seek the guidance themselves. And so the guidance is being brought to them. Put that shit down. Put that shit down. And it starts off by them not liking something about what you say or do. You know why? Because you make them actually consider their own error of their own ways. And so if someone is asking themselves if they like, they curse themselves, essentially. They're asking themselves, they curse themselves with a lesson, right? What happened in Beauty and the Beast? There was a lesson. There was a test first, when she knocked on the door and she asked him if she can come out of the motherfucking cold. And he said, no, you ugly. You your daddy's son. And she said, okay, motherfucker. Why? Now you had to fuck him up. And that's what I'm seeing here. And so someone's like, yo, you did curse me. Yeah, somebody got cursed here. Somebody got cursed. They didn't honor the goddess. And so they could spend for all eternity trying to make something right. Nothing would ever come in for them. They'll never be able to manifest inheritance. They would be literally one single person. It's never able to acquire something, but believes that they're meant to be greatness. They were born. It's like knowing that you are a prince, a king, a queen, but never being able to arrive to that greatness. Never being able to have that transformation, have that breakthrough. And because their pride won't allow them to, clear the air, they rather pay it off. Like, I'll pay you whatever you want. I don't think there's nothing that you can actually take off, but it's saying that anything that they try to touch won't materialize into abundance. And they're trying to eat right, do better, make better decisions, but the transformation is internal, and that's what they're refusing to see. Okay, the bell hasn't gone off in their head yet. And that's what they need to realize. Okay? It's their own sacrifice. What about themselves needs to change? The bell needs to go off. Right? Didn't the beast sacrifice? He made a selfless. He thought of himself less. Humility. Come through, spirit. And that's how I know the reading is over. It specifically said humility is not thinking less of yourself. This is what this person feels like. They feel like you want me to think less of myself. You want me to feel like I'm nobody in comparison to you. That ain't even the case. It's about thinking about yourself less. It's not always about you, boo. It's not always about what the fuck you got going on. What's not going on for you. And through that humility, a transformation occurs. Because no one can tame this beast but you. No one can tame this demon but you. Straight up. So let me find my little bookity. I'm still on my books. I'm on my book zone right now. If I can find it. You know what I'm saying? I can't find it. Well, that's all, folks. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.